The distance, those sirens were actually not immediately where we were, but you can see what we just witnessed. And there were no early warning sirens where we were when this happened. That's unusual. Israel tonight is bracing, though, for a major attack overnight. Sources telling us that they are expecting a quote-unquote significant expansion of attacks from both Iran and Hezbollah. And we are also seeing this incredible video out of northern Israel tonight, north of where we are, where you see a barrage of rockets coming in from Lebanon in the skies there. And sources now say that Iran's biggest proxy, the Houthis in Yemen, could launch their first attacks on Israel of this conflict as well. Also, far from the U.S. winning, tonight we are seeing a major escalation of tensions in the Strait of Hormuz. And I just showed you those images we have just confirmed of an oil tanker on fire off Basra, that major Iraqi port. 3 ships we also understand today attacked in the crucial shipping route of Hormuz today, according to the UK Maritime Trade Operations. That is the authority on maritime security. And we'll show you here, it's a Thai-flagged ship that was struck, totally engulfed in black smoke. 3 crew members missing tonight. That crew forced to evacuate on lifeboats, according to Thai officials. And Iran is warning of more attacks. This is pretty stunning to imagine that even 2 weeks ago, if we saw images like this, what world we would think we would be living in. A senior IRGC commander, meantime, tonight is claiming that, and I quote, "We have missiles that are launched from underwater. We may use them in the coming days." This comes as we are learning the preliminary findings of the U.S. military's investigation into the strike on a girls' school in southern Iran has found the United States is to blame for that terrible, horrific tragedy. Sources are telling CNN that the military likely used outdated information about a nearby naval base and accidentally then hit the school, causing the single deadliest attack of this conflict so far, in which it was children who were killed, 168 children and 14 teachers, according to Iranian state media. President Trump, who previously tried to blame Iran for the attack, is claiming tonight that he is unaware of the military's findings.
A new report says the military investigation has found it was the United States that struck the school.
I don't know about that.
And tonight, the mystery around Iran's new supreme leader is deepening. He has still not been seen in public 3 days after being named supreme leader. A source is now telling CNN that he was injured, but they are describing it as fairly minor, a foot fracture, bruising around his eye, and minor lacerations to his face. I describe those as minor because obviously in that strike, his father, mother, wife, and son were killed. There are major questions, therefore, about the full extent of his injuries, as we know multiple members of his family were killed, and that's according to Iranian state media. There's also real questions, of course, about the depth of these injuries and why, if they are so minor, we have not yet seen him. We have a team of reporters standing by for us. Kristen Holmes with new reporting at the White House. Nick Payton-Walsh is in Amman, Jordan. Jeremy Diamond is here with me in Tel Aviv. And Will Ripley is in Taiwan, now front and center, where there are major questions about China's potential involvement now in this conflict. I want to begin, though, with Kristen Holmes. She's at the White House. And Kristen, President Trump making that bold declaration tonight, and that is incredibly bold. It's not just that they won. He's saying that the United States won in the first hour. It certainly does not appear to reflect the reality that anybody here is seeing on the ground.
Well, and of course, Aaron, I would go back to that first hour when the Gulf countries were getting completely pummeled. And I imagine they did not think that anyone had won at that time. And as President Trump is kind of doubling down on this narrative that the U.S. won, they won in the first hour, he's also continuing to reiterate this idea that only he can decide when the war is over. So both saying that he won, but also not declaring that the war is over. And in saying that like that, he clearly is not taking into account that there are multiple parties involved in this war. It does not appear that Iran thinks that this war is over. It does not appear that Israel thinks that this war is over. All of these parties are going to continue to fight, even if President Trump says that he has decided that this is over, particularly because we know that they have not put out what metrics he will be using, what goals he will be using to declare that this war is over. So this is going to continue in the region, and all of this is happening as Republicans are seemingly desperate for any kind of new messaging from the White House on this war. When it comes to timeline, when it comes to the cost of oil, we've already started to see those oil prices surging. When it comes to the goals for the war, these are all things Republicans are going to the White House asking them to put out clearer messaging on, and we are told that the White House is intentional internationally, not having the president or the administration box in themselves with any sort of actual timeline because they want these military operations to continue. So even though the Republicans are asking for it, they are not getting it. And there are still going to be those questions as to what this will actually look like when President Trump declares that it's over, when there are so many other entities involved in this fight now.
Kristen, thank you very much at the White House tonight as we're looking at those burning tankers. I want to bring in now retired U.S. Navy Captain Lawrence Brennan. He was an officer on the USS Nimitz during the Iranian hostage crisis. He obviously knows this region and that strait very well. Seth Jones also here along with Kareem Sajapur. And welcome to all three of you. Captain, I want to start with you with the breaking news that we have. This new video we've just confirmed late tonight here in these overnight hours of an oil tanker on fire off the coast of Iraq. Near Basra, of course, major oil port. Obviously, these images are stunning. As I said 2 weeks ago, nobody could have ever thought such a thing would happen if this was in the context of a war. And you said that it would really have been unthinkable. And now here we are, and this is happening. That in Basra. Also, we saw those ships in the Strait today on fire. So, Captain, I guess just the simple question is, how could you imagine right now? You've been on the USS Nimitz sailing through the Strait of Hormuz.
That is true. A long time ago, it's a very difficult area, particularly for the United States Navy, and the Strait of Hormuz is an important choke point for international trade, particularly oil. This is going to have a tremendous impact, and unfortunately a negative impact, both on the oil prices and the environmental costs are going to be catastrophic. Burning the oil is one thing, but the pollution that's going to be caused can be devastating for years. And this is going to basically stop international traffic through the Strait of Hormuz for the foreseeable future.
Which is really stunning. And I mean, just to think about it, I was talking to someone who has tankers in there now. I mean, essentially those ships are waiting. And right now it's a game of how long they can wait before they need to get restocked, whether they can get restocked even from the Emirates, turning transponders off to hide. I mean, this is truly incomprehensible. Seth,
horrible.
Go ahead, Captain.
No, it's horrible. I mean, it's as bad as World War II when the U-boats were attacking American and British tankers in the Atlantic. And, if you've ever been on a ship that's had a fuel and oil fire, it's catastrophic. It's environmentally bad. It causes all sorts of damages. There's nothing worse than seeing someone who's been burned, particularly in oil and a fuel fire. And we had one on board Nimitz when I was there a long time ago. And it's just that there's nothing worse than walking to sickbay and seeing people who are burned, and the scars and affected burns internally and externally are horrible.
More people and more suffering happening. I mean, Seth, the IRGC commander that I mentioned is now also threatening, right, these incredibly fast missiles that they say that travel underwater, technology from the Russians, ostensibly, but saying that they haven't used those yet, but they might in coming days. Do you see that threat, Seth, as real?
Aaron, I do think there is a continuing threat from Iranian missiles, cruise and ballistic missiles, and drones, and also a threat from some of Iran's partner forces, including the Houthis. I think it'd be very dangerous for U.S. ships to try to escort through the Strait of Hormuz right now until most of those missiles and drones have been destroyed, because, boy, the public information campaign that the Iranians would get hitting a U.S. Navy vessel in the Persian Gulf or the Strait of Hormuz would be a huge public relations victory for the Iranians.
So Kareem, Trump was asked if he could declare victory in this war if the supreme leader remains the leader remains the Ayatollah's son, right? A Khamenei replaces a Khamenei. And he responded, I don't want to comment on that. I know, Kareem, you have a new piece in The Atlantic that I hope everyone will read. You've got all these new details on the new leader. So I guess, what have you learned about those around him? And I know you've got a specific theory as to why we haven't seen him yet.
So, Aaron, Mojtaba Khamenei has essentially spent his entire life in this very hardline ideological cocoon The men around him are some of the most brutal men of the Islamic Republic, men like Hossein Taeb, Mohammed Baqir Ghalibaf. They are senior Revolutionary Guard commanders. Some of them have been deeply implicated in repression and torture, and he owes his throne to them. And so I don't see any signs that he's prepared to meaningfully change the character of the Islamic Republic. And I think this creates a dilemma for President Trump when he says that this war has been a victory. You know, obviously we've had great military success, but it's a political failure if you spend billions and billions of dollars replacing an 86-year-old leader with his 56-year-old son. And so I think that the president is going to have to be clear about, you know, what ultimately his objective is here, because if we've simply degraded them militarily, but we've given them a new lease on life, historians will see that as a strategic failure.
Captain Brennan, it is this regime, of course, that is keeping the Strait of Hormuz closed, and no sign that that will change. Can there be victory? I mean, in a sense, I'm asking a very obvious question, but can there be victory for the U.S., as the president has claimed, as long as Iran is keeping the Strait of Hormuz closed?
You can't have victory if you can't use the Strait of Hormuz. The Strait of Hormuz has to be reopened to international trade, and that is a difficult, if not impossible, thing to do under the present circumstances. I fear it's going to require a regime change and possibly an occupation of Iran. And I don't think anyone in their right mind wants to occupy Iran. It's just too dangerous a thing to do, too expensive, and too risky. So I don't think we have a short-term answer. And as much as I appreciate the president's optimism, declaring victory after the first day or two is just not the right thing to do. This is going to go on far longer than any of us hope.
Seth, in fact, he declared that he had achieved victory within 1 hour.
Yeah, Aaron, I mean, I think the reality is, and we've heard this from everybody here, is that, it's one thing if you're at World War II and you've got a formal surrender by the Germans and the Japanese, or even the end of the Balkan Wars, where there's the Dayton Accord that formally ends the war. There's going to be no end to this war. The Iranians aren't going to surrender. I think that's very clear right now. And as we've seen with the Israelis over the last several years in the West Bank and Gaza and Lebanon and even Yemen, that there's just mowing the grass. This persists against Iran and these partner forces. I don't see this as being any different right now.
And Kareem, as we're understanding here, they're looking for a significant expansion in the attacks coming in here. And we did just see the sky light up with multiple interceptors just moments ago. And we'll see what happens in these next few hours. We understand Israel's in the midst of intense strikes in Tehran right now. And in that, we just have not heard from the Supreme Leader. And I'm curious, Kareem, if his injuries are as minor as are now being reported. A source is telling CNN they're minor as well. The bruise, the cut face, maybe a broken foot, those sorts of types of injuries. If that's the case, from talking to your sources inside Iran, including people who have known Mojtaba Khamenei for decades, why have we not seen him?
People who've known him many years describe him as kind of a meager presence. He has the kind of social skills of a dictator's son who's been coddled all his life. He doesn't have good interpersonal skills. He's not known to be a good speaker, a charismatic person. And so when you combine all of these elements together, he's eluding assassination, he's injured, he's in hiding, he's trying to lead a country which is at war with America, Israel, and much of his own population. And his injuries may be even to his face. I think that they're probably in a real dilemma to have this guy give his maiden speech and project confidence and strength when, at the moment he's anything but strong or confident.
Yeah, it's fascinating. And I guess if you see an injury, can that be portrayed as a survivor, or does that be perceived as weakness? And I guess it does depend what the extent of it. I thank you all very much. I really appreciate the conversation. And our breaking news coverage continues because we are getting some more new details just coming in on the tankers on fire right now in the Persian Gulf. Plus, a U.S. soldier who survived the drone strike in Kuwait that killed 6 service members is speaking out. The first time that we are hearing from someone who was there, who witnessed that attack. And breaking new details about a crucial and new level of support that Russia is providing Iran tonight. Just how deeply involved is Putin right now? And Iran is warning of $200 a barrel for oil, specifically. They put a number on it. Is that an empty threat? One of the top oil experts in the world is with us.
I'm Conan O'Brien, and I'm hosting the Oscars for the second time on March 15th. Why am I back? To settle some scores, take care of some unfinished business. Actually, I just left my mouth guard in the theater. They're expensive.
Kara Swisher Wants to Live Forever, coming soon on CNN.
Introducing All There Is Live, where I talk to others about grief and loss, and you can join the conversation too.
Now streaming at cnn.com/allthereis.
The United States and Israel are now both conducting strikes against Iran.
Supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei is dead.
The cruise missiles that we're seeing here in Israel, unlike anything we have seen before.
Saudi Arabia has intercepted 2 drones.
There is the siren. We're going to head to the shelter.
Iranian drone flew directly over our head.
I actually spoke with the president this morning, one-on-one.
These are dramatic developments that are unfolding.
There's something about this place.
It's really our passion to share what we do with people like you.
Vive la France!
Eva Longoria, Searching for France, premieres April 12th on CNN and next day on the CNN app.
For most of its life, the Oscars has been a tentpole of American life.
People around the world know what the Oscars are.
Oscar viewership has been on the decline.
These days, the struggle for relevance is real.
The players now are Apple, Amazon, Netflix.
Will Hollywood survive an era of streaming? So the question then is, can the Oscars save it?
Hollywood and the Oscars, still golden? Now streaming on the CNN app.
It is the stretch run on TNT.
The push for the playoffs, it's all about getting in. Once you're in, you never know what's going to happen. Give yourself every opportunity to compete for the Stanley Cup.
The rush to the playoffs on TNT.
Grief isn't talked about much, but that's what my podcast is all about. Join me and my guests for a new season with new conversations about loss, life, and love.
All There Is with Anderson Cooper. Listen at cnn.com/allthereis.
Did the re-election of Donald Trump play any role in your decision to resign? It sounds like you have the facts on your fingertips.
There really is much more that unites us than that which divides us.
Watch The Lead, weekdays at 5 on CNN and watch on the CNN app.
You introduce your buddy to DTF St. Louis.
Whoa.
He goes on the site and winds up dead.
I want to know more.
We always want to know more.
Had you ever discussed leaving your husband?
What's going on out here in the suburbs?
Why'd you kill your friend?
CNN and Variety are live on the red carpet for the biggest night in Hollywood. Up close with all the stars and all the fashion. CNN and Variety Red Carpet Live, Sunday at 4 on CNN or watch on the CNN app.
When you buy a house, you're buying the neighbors.
It looks like an Osama bin Laden compound in Pakistan.
There is 6 to 8 chickens, 10 to 15 chicken, 20 chicken.
Oh, okay. Cool point to me.
Don't talk to my child that way.
You will not talk over me.
Back off. My attorney will bury you.
If anybody knows about going to great lengths to realize a dream, it's the 5 Japanese-born players in front of their nation's fans for the first time.
Homecoming, the Tokyo series, premieres March 27th on the CNN app.
Early Start with Rahel Solomon, weekdays at 5 a.m. on CNN.
Welcome back to a special edition of Outfront Live in Tel Aviv, the war with Iran. As we are here in Tel Aviv, we are following the breaking news. At least one person dead after 2 oil tankers were attacked, going up in flames in the Persian Gulf. We understand 38 crew members were rescued. Reuters is reporting that an initial investigation by Iraqi security officials found that explosive-laden Iranian boats hit the tankers. This comes as we are also learning tonight that Iran is now increasingly using cluster munitions, a very powerful and dangerous weapon on its missiles. Jeremy Diamond is here with me now. And Jeremy, you know, you've been working on this piece as you've been observing this, but we started seeing it a few days ago, and it said these, in our skyline, started to look like cluster munitions. And then as you were observing and doing the research, you found out that there is new munition being used.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, we've been talking about this for days, looking at these images of these specks of light in the sky, wondering what these could be. And after speaking with experts, it's quite clear that Iran is indeed using these cluster munitions, and it does appear to be an effort to try and evade Israel's air defense systems.
Their orange glow streaks across the night sky. Each speck of light, a small bomb, carrying up to 11 pounds of explosives and raining down indiscriminately, sometimes in densely populated areas. They are cluster munitions, and Iran is increasingly packing the heads of its ballistic missiles with dozens of them, aiming to pierce Israel's sophisticated air defenses.
One of those small bombs struck the roof of this residential building, and you can see the hole is only a few inches wide. And yet this is the kind of destruction that just one of those small bombs can cause, one of multiple impact points from a single missile.
We confirmed 9 separate impacts from that one missile. They include this strike on a Tel Aviv car wash that severely wounded 1 man, and another in a neighboring suburb. The impacts are spread out across 7 miles of mostly residential neighborhoods, illustrating why using these munitions in populated areas violates international law. The next day, another cluster missile attack sends bomblets tumbling south of Tel Aviv. At least 5 impacts scattered across 8 miles. One bomb hit a street here. Nearby, 2 construction workers were killed, the first fatalities in Israel caused by these weapons. Israel's military, which has itself deployed cluster munitions in other wars, says about half of Iran's missile attacks use these munitions. Vehicles overturned, shrapnel slicing through anything near the impact. Iran's missiles are more destructive when equipped with a single large warhead, but the clusters are much tougher to intercept.
It's a mechanism to bypass active missile defense. In some cases, you can hit the target with an arrow or with a THAAD missile, for example, but the bomblets will continue and will get to the target.
The Israeli military does try and intercept these bomblets, expending a costly and finite quantity of interceptors in the process.
So if there is a strategy here by Iran, that could be it, to try and deplete Israel's air defenses, right?
We know it. I think Iran doesn't have the capability at the moment of orchestrating a large barrage of ballistic missiles. So if Iran wants to cause a lot of damage, even with a small number of ballistic missiles, then submunition missiles, with bomblets will be the weapon of choice.
The weapon of choice as Iran pursues a war of attrition, one missile at a time.
And Aaron, we did reach out to the Iranian government for comment on this. They did not respond in terms of why they are using these cluster munitions, but we spoke with weapons experts who said, you know, these really don't have much military value. If you're trying to hit a target, you're not going to use a munition that's going to spread out over potentially 7 miles of an area. And so it's clear that this is indiscriminate. It's clear that it's intended to not only evade Israel's air defenses, but also to disrupt life here. I mean, every time one of these missiles goes into the air, millions of people people are forced to go into bomb shelters, and obviously they're relatively safe if they do go into bomb shelters from these relatively small bombs.
Yeah.
But as we've seen, 2 people killed so far, and the disruption really
You've been to so many of the sites, and the one where 2 people were killed, I went to. What I was struck by was exactly that, that it's a suburban neighborhood. You go in, and the impact location itself is incredibly small, right? It's just the terror is that anybody could be standing there.
Exactly.
And they were standing there, and as you say, that's what terrorizes civilian populations. All right, Jeremy Diamond, thank you so much. And obviously really crucial to see this as we're hearing about the potential of new munitions being used, that Jeremy is confirming this already on cluster munitions. Democratic Senator Tammy Duckworth joins me now. She's on the Senate Armed Services, Veterans Affairs, and Foreign Relations Committees. Senator Duckworth is also an Iraq War veteran. And Senator, I appreciate your time, and I want to start with the deadly strike on a girls' school in Iran here, and that is 2 sources are telling us that the preliminary findings of a U.S. military investigation, which is still ongoing, say that the U.S. is to blame, likely due to using outdated information about a nearby naval base when they did their targeting. How troubling is this when just the very basics of it, the use of outdated information for the targeting?
Well, it is incredibly troubling to me, and it should be to all of us, because it shows the lack of coordination and prior planning and how rushed this process was conducted by the Trump administration. Frankly, I want to know who actually cleared the targeting of an area right next to the girls' school or the girls' school itself. Why was there not better coordination? And Pete Hegseth recently called silly rules of engagement silly. Well, you know what? The rules of engagement are there for a reason. But I think this speaks completely to the rushed nature of this effort by the Trump administration. And I would really want to know who is actually going through the target protocols and who's clearing these targets for attack.
Yeah, I know there's been a lot of questions about, how the list was compiled and how much, what human beings were checking of the list. And I know there are so many questions to be answered there. President Trump, Senator, today said, quote, "I don't know about that," when he was asked about these preliminary reports about the investigation. And he obviously has declared victory as well. But are you worried about retaliation in this case, and specifically retaliation on American soil?
Well, I think Donald Trump has made Americans less safe by attacking Iran. I don't think that there was a justifiable reason for this. And frankly, we've already lost service members, and I would expect that we're going to lose more. And if they're going to retaliate, this is all on Donald Trump. He decided to do this. The responsibility rests with him. He is the commander-in-chief, and he chose to go to war without coming first to Congress. And you can see how haphazardly they're conducting this war. They seem to be surprised that the war is spreading. Why would you be surprised? Anybody, basic military intelligence would tell you that immediately an attack like this would draw in our allies, would put Americans in the region in greater danger. And I am deeply, deeply concerned that we are less safe today than before these attacks began by President Trump.
You bring up the soldiers who lost their lives, the service members, and we're now tonight, Senator, hearing from the survivor of the drone attack in Kuwait, in which 6 U.S. service members did die. Sergeant First Class Corey Hicks spoke out to ABC Minneapolis affiliate KSTP about what he saw when that attack happened and what he's experiencing now, and I wanted to play him for everyone.
Turning my head to the left, and I seen the nose of that drone pop through, and as soon as it did, I knew what it was. Turned to my right, and that's when it blew up and just blew the whole building apart. I got shrapnel wounds on my arm, and severed an artery, impact my groin area, and I still have shrapnel coming out of me. It's just popping out of.
Senator, of course, you serve on Armed Services and Veterans Affairs, but you're a veteran yourself. You've suffered yourself with injuries. I mean, what do you say to Sergeant Hicks right now and other American service members who we know some are injured with minor injuries, others with very, very serious critical ones?
I say to them that I understand the valor with which they serve, and that I will strive every day that I'm in the United States Senate to honor that by doing my job, to hold the Trump administration accountable, to hold those who decide whether or not we go to war accountable to have those decisions made in a way that is deliberate, and we know why we're going. We know whether or not these, we were under imminent attack. We know whether or not what the end state will be. The Trump administration is hiding behind the valor of our men and women in uniform. They will always perform to the maximum capability of their professionalism. They will always step up and say, yes, sir, I will execute the mission. The problem is, who's giving those orders? And frankly, Donald Trump has not done his job. He's not come to Congress and justified to us why this was necessary. And then he chooses to hide behind the valor of our men and women in uniform, and then he treats them with a pittance. He's cut funding for the VA. He's fired more veterans than any other president in American history. And he said very casually, oh, this is war, more will die. Well, you know what? It's people like those who have already laid down their lives. It's our men and women in uniform in harm's way today will continue to show up. The least we can do in the United States Senate is have a debate about whether or not this is justified. And the least the Trump administration can do is come to us and say, what is next? What exactly is the end state? What is the off-ramp? What is the goal you're trying to achieve? And we will make sure that they do that.
Yeah. Senator Duckworth, I appreciate your time. Thank you very much. And we do have news breaking right now. We are confirming that Russia is now giving Iran a new level of crucial support. Nick Payton-Walsh is live in Amman, Jordan, with his exclusive new reporting. That is coming up just after this. And then a top investment bank, Goldman Sachs, tracking Trump's mixed messages on Iran. And we're going to show you how every single word is impacting markets and the price at the pump.
Standoff, the FBI, Power and Paranoia premieres Sunday, March 22nd on CNN.
Hi, I'm Kai Burkhardt, editor at CNN Underscored, and today I'm in Eldora Mountain Resort to show you how I found the best ski goggles. After testing goggles from all sorts of brands like Smith, Zeal, Shady Rays, Head, and more, I found two that are the absolute best. After wearing all those goggles on dozens of runs, my favorites are these, the Zeal Optics Beacon goggles. The Zeal beacons come in at $119, which in my opinion is a great value for the comfort and vision clarity you get. I wore each pair of goggles while snowboarding here at Eldora Mountain Resort, as well as around my neighborhood to judge for vision clarity. In both of those tests, the Zeal Optics Beacon had some of the best clarity and sharpness out of any pair I tested. The clarity and general vision is great, and I didn't experience any issues while on the slopes. The beacons also have a great field of vision utilizing the brand's observation deck technology, so you can
Taylor's engagement was just Princess Di level news.
$2.2 billion in spend is projected based on Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce's wedding planning.
A Taylor Swift wedding is a pinnacle moment of celebrity culture.
It says a lot about our country that we have dragged Taylor Swift into a culture war about marriage.
People are invested in what they think that her life is.
I do. The Taylor and Travis era, now streaming on the CNN app.
All the news. Laura Coates Live. Weeknights at 11 on CNN and watch on the CNN app.
30 seconds.
Wake up.
Breaking overnight.
Catch up.
New details and more questions.
Start your mornings here.
This is a pivotal week.
CNN News Central. Weekdays at 7 a.m. on CNN and watch at 8 on the CNN app.
I get to call someone I've looked up to a colleague.
We're two former White House correspondents with a tireless work ethic.
We're ready for whatever comes our way.
The Situation Room with Wolf Blitzer and Pamela Brown, weekday mornings at 10 on CNN and watch on the CNN app.
The Source with Caitlin Collins, weeknights at 9 on CNN and watch on the CNN app.
Hey, Rooster!
The kids call you Rooster?
They think I'm like my character.
Nice washboard. This is college. You can be the Rooster if you want.
Cock a doodle doo.
You introduce your buddy to DTF St. Louis. He goes on the site and winds up dead.
I want to know more.
What's going on out here in the suburbs?
This is an incredible story. The stakes were extremely high. You could hear the gasp.
Columbia, Houston, comm check.
It's very difficult to determine whom you can trust.
747s don't fall out of the sky.
Well, there were 3 of us in this marriage.
Something went on that's still with us.
In a divided America,
Where do I fit?
You tell me, ask your party.
Abby Phillip brings all sides to the table.
Can you name one thing you do differently?
The hypocrisy is so rank, folks at home. Classes in session.
To talk about the issues,
Congresswoman, it is false. The answer is zero.
the policies,
What is the Democratic Party about? Can you answer that question?
and the biggest debates to wrap up your day.
I hear what you're saying Trump believes in, but do you think it's a good idea?
Newsnight with Abby Phillip, weeknights at 10 on CNN and watch on the CNN app.
CNN This Morning with Audie Cornish. Weekdays at 6 a.m. on CNN.
The Arena with Casey Hunt, weekdays at 4 on CNN and watch on the CNN app.
All right, we are back with this special edition of Out Front, the war with Iran, and we have breaking news right now. Dramatic new video into Out Front showing the moment an Iranian drone hit a fuel storage tank at a port in Oman, causing a massive explosion. Emergency crews are still waiting to put out the fire at that port. Oman, of course, had been the key mediator in the nuclear negotiations and has repeatedly tried to find off-ramps and be a bridge. So obviously this happening there is very significant. It comes as CNN has learned that Russia is providing very crucial support to Iran, helping Iran use advanced drone tactics that Russia has honed on the battlefield in Ukraine. The UK has said they've used some 57,000 drones. Nick Payton-Walsh is Out Front live in Amman, Jordan. And Nick, you're breaking this news from your sources. And what more are you learning about the weapons Iran is using and the specific support that they're getting in doing so from Vladimir Putin's Russia?
I mean, one of the surprises of this war, perhaps in the Gulf region in general, has been how successful these Shahid Iranian drones have been in getting through air defenses. Originally designed in Iran, and then the Russians picked them up, used them en masse against Ukraine, producing them a lot of the time in Russia as well. We've known for a few days that the Russians have been providing kind of general information assistance for the Iranians in terms of locations of US assets and perhaps satellite pictures too. But a Western intelligence official I spoke to says it's gone further and become more concerning. And that general assistance has now become assistance with targeting strategies, allowing them to basically pass on the know-how that they have from Ukraine to the Iranians. Now, the source didn't go into exactly how the strategies are being played out here, but it can only really mean one thing. For the last 3 years, the Russians have been sending waves of drones, sometimes over 1,000 in one night, across Ukraine. They sometimes change course on the radar. I've seen them go in loops, do whatever they can to evade Ukrainian air defenses. The Ukrainians themselves, every week, try to introduce something new to potentially combat this threat that's claimed many hundreds of lives, certainly. And I think the concern here is ultimately the Russians have passed on these tactics, their knowledge of what the best way to saturate air defenses can be, and handed that 3 years' worth of knowledge to the Iranians to be used against Gulf states and the United States, who simply don't have the day-to-day learning of the Ukrainian military. Ukraine sent advisors to here, Jordan, where I am, and possibly technology as well. But still, that's catch-up, Erin.
So Nick, what are your sources saying about Russia's view of Trump starting this war with Iran?
I mean, ultimately, if you step back, it was bad news for Russia when their ally Venezuela lost its former president, Nicolas Maduro. A humiliation there that Russia could do nothing to stop that from happening. And indeed, some element of humiliation with the excessive bombing campaign of the US and Israel against the Iranian regime. But if you look at the potential longer term here, we have, to Russia's benefit, seen the US Treasury issue a general license, a sanctions waiver, allowing their associated dark fleet to sell oil, some of it said to be to India. That puts money in the Kremlin's coffers, likely. In this instance, they are clearly, potentially, getting some kind of tit-for-tat response because of the American assistance of intelligence and weapons to Ukraine. Russia's providing the same back to Iran here. And so perhaps if this drags out longer and longer, we may see Russia turn what was initially a loss into a soft win, Erin.
Yeah. All right, Nick, thank you very much. And as Nick points out, some of those shadow tankers that were sort of floating around, undeclared, full of Iranian oil, either impossible to sell or sold at steep discounts to the market price. Now, all of a sudden, much more willing buyers and a much higher price. And next, breaking news, the Trump administration just announcing it is releasing 172 million barrels of oil from the U.S. Strategic Petroleum Reserve. Okay, how much difference does that make? How long does that bridge the gap? And China openly mocking Trump's war with Iran.
When you buy a house, you're buying the neighbors.
It looks like an Osama bin Laden compound in Pakistan.
There is 6 to 8 chickens, 10 to 15 chicken, 20 chicken.
Oh, can't poop on me.
Don't talk to my child that way.
You will not talk over me.
Back off.
My attorney will bury you.
Weeknights on CNN.
Tonight on 360.
The stories that matter.
This whole area is just engulfed in flames.
From a trusted voice, Anderson Cooper 360. Weeknights at 8 on CNN.
Howdy, everybody. Look who we got on campus.
We should hang out more, Matthew.
Hey,
come on, man.
Doing it.
I've never seen anything I've done twice.
You seen Interstellar once? No way, man.
A CNN and Variety Town Hall event, now streaming on the CNN app.
The Oscars have been a tentpole of American life.
People around the world know what the Oscars are.
Will Hollywood survive an era of streaming?
Hollywood and the Oscars, still golden, now streaming on the CNN app.
You introduce your buddy to DTF St. Louis. He goes on the site and winds up dead.
I want to know more.
What's going on out here in the suburbs?
How's your shift going? It's been a lot.
Charge clear.
We're going to take care of you.
This is what we do.
Explore CNN podcasts for your daily dose of news, culture, and smart storytelling. Whether you want to be swept off your feet,
I just hollered and I said, "Hey, are you single?"
or navigate cutting-edge tech.
Can I ask a nerdy question?
Follow doctor's orders.
Research shows even a 5-minute walk will do you good.
And discover the conversations shaping our world.
Where do you want to start?
Follow and listen to CNN podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts.
Tell me a story.
What story would you like?
Look, what do you see?
That place in your head.
Is it true? For a moment.
The Oscars, live March 15th on ABC and Hulu. Hosted by me, Conan O'Brien.
I think you're going to want to see this.
When the news breaks,
Watch out.
this team is here to sweep up the pieces.
He got hit in the face and his toupee went.
That's why you watch this show.
Have I got news for you? Now streaming on the CNN app.
You are a best-selling author that the parents have actually heard of.
I doubt that any of my books are on the shelves of this hallowed institution.
They aren't.
I write because sometimes I wish I was someone else.
This is college. You get to reinvent yourself.
That's kind of hot around here.
Hi, Coach.
You're a bad boy.
And we're back with a special edition of Out Front, the war with Iran. Breaking news this moment. We are closely watching those 2 oil tankers that are on fire right now after coming under attack in the Persian Gulf off the coast of Iraq. Iraq's ports have completely stopped operations after the attacks. Those are some of the most important oil shipping ports in the world. And that halt is according to the director of the Iraqi ports. And it comes as an Iranian Revolutionary Guard official is warning that the price of oil could reach $200 a barrel. Well, that threat is coming according to Reuters. Now, despite 3 attacks on ships in the Strait of Hormuz today, President Trump is defiant. He is telling oil companies to keep sailing through the strait, something that virtually none of them are willing to do. It is the world's most important energy choke point that carries about a fifth of all crude oil. Sources familiar with U.S. intelligence tell CNN that Iran has laid a few dozen mines in the strait. Shipping traffic is obviously at a virtual standstill amidst the threats. All right, and President Trump is speaking right now, so we're going to go to him and listen. Here he is.
Petroleum Reserve, a timeline of when that could happen.
We're going to be doing it very quickly, and then we'll fill it up. We'll fill up our reserves. You know, if you remember, I filled them up, and then I had a deal to go at the highest level, a level that's never been, and Schumer and the Democrats for $25, and it was turned down. You remember that, Peter. Almost before your time, but not quite. But it was, we had a deal at $25. Think of that, $25 a barrel, and the Democrats turned it down. We're going to tap it out like it's never been, but they turned that down, and now it's a lot higher.
Are you considering having the U.S. Treasury Department buy oil futures as a means to keep the oil prices down or bring the oil prices down?
Well, we're going to be in very good shape. You see what's happening. They are pretty much at the end of the line. Doesn't mean we're going to end it immediately, but they've got no Navy, they've got no Air Force, they've got no anti-air traffic, anything. They have no systems of control. We're just riding free range over that country. And now we're going to look very strongly at the Straits. The Straits are in great shape. We've knocked out all of their boats. They have some missiles, but not very many. I think we're in very good shape. The main thing is we have to win this thing, win it quickly, but win it. And there are many people, I'm just watching some of the news, most people say it's already been won. It's just a question of when. When do we stop? We don't want to let it regrow, and ideally would like to see somebody in there that knows what they're doing. In other words, they can build a country. Now, one other thing, we can hit sections of Tehran and other places that if you do it, it'll be almost impossible for them to rebuild their country. And we don't want that. But we can hit electric, we could take apart their electric capacity within 1 hour, and it would take them 25 years to rebuild it. So ideally, we're not going to be doing that. Thank you very much, everybody. Thanks for the
Is your
question.
timeline still 4 weeks? Is the president timeline still 4 weeks?
All right, well, there was President Trump just talking about releasing some oil from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. And I want to go to Daniel Yergin, world-renowned Pulitzer Prize-winning expert on oil and gas. Dan, a lot to talk to you about, but I want to start with where the president just was making news, talking about releasing oil from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. I guess we understand that the release that he is suggesting would be about 41% of what's in there right now. He had talked about refilling it post-Biden, but I do not believe that that had happened. So it was a little bit more than half full to begin with, but we're using about 40% of what's in there. So I guess the question is, how big of a deal of that, and how long is that, and how long does that last? I mean, it's a bridge, but how big a one?
Well, I think that's exactly right. It's a bridge. I mean, the Strategic Petroleum Reserve was created half a century ago exactly for this purpose, to deal with the crisis in the Gulf. And it's time to use it. It helps offset the disruption, but it doesn't solve the disruption. Altogether, all the countries that belong together in the International Energy Agency are releasing about 400 million barrels a day over some period of time. They've pledged to do that. But that's, over the month of March, if this war continues, the world will have lost 400 million barrels a day. Aaron, the other thing I want to just go back for a second, if I can, to Russia, because you were making a really important point. Vladimir Putin has won the lottery here. He's the biggest winner so far because the price of oil is way up to fund his war, and the sanctions are being taken off. And the other day, 2 days ago, he had a meeting in the Kremlin where he was positively gloating and bragging about the oil and gas position of Russia.
With those prices going up. All right, and there's, Russia potentially with the benefit, as you point out, Dan, but also Iran itself. The tanker tracking firm Kepler says that Iran is actually, and let me just make sure everyone's listening to what I'm about to say here, Iran is exporting more oil through the Strait today than before the war. They're saying 2.1 million barrels a day on average over the past 6 days. Now, that's up slightly from the average in February. So it was 2 million. It's now 2.1. It's a small increase, but it's an increase. And last I checked, everybody else's has gone essentially to zero. So it would appear, Dan, that the only country, at least marginally benefiting right now from that situation, is possibly Iran.
It is Iran, and they are getting, of course, much higher prices. They were before. They were like 1.5 million barrels a day. So their oil is waved through, and it's headed to China, and they're making more money out of this while everybody else is just shut down. And it's not only oil and gas that's shut down; it's food shut down, it's commercial shipping that's shut down. It's really a kind of a paralysis, except for those Iranian ships.
Goldman Sachs came out with a report, very interesting, that they were tracking all the comments that President Trump has made about how long the war is going to go on, and top officials. And the statements obviously are contradictory, right? Whether it's 2 weeks or 4 weeks or whatever it is, it's been shifting a lot. And the report from Goldman points out that on the same day, they said the war would end very soon, but not this week, and that the war was, quote, very complete, pretty much. And they're going on from there, and they're laying it all out, obviously to make the point that that back and forth, that whiplash matters a lot for the actual prices that all Americans are paying, because it's affecting the market literally moment by moment. And we've seen that, right? When it was the war will pretty much end, we all saw what happened to oil prices within minutes. How much is the lack of clarity and frankly, the complete confusion that is coming out from the White House on timing here at times hurting the oil market?
Well, I think it's certainly causing that kind of whiplash that you're saying, and confusion. And of course, meanwhile, the war goes on. And I think what's happened in the last couple of days is that Iran has decided, for them, this is a forever war for this regime, for their survival. And that what they've decided to do is wage war on the global economy. And that's when they talk about $200 a barrel oil, whether that's going to happen or not. They want to create fear, and they want to affect not just the oil price, but the global economy, because that's their tactic to try and end the war on favorable terms for them.
All right, Dan Yergin, thank you very much. And next, a closer look at China's role in the war with Iran and its not so subtle jabs that they are mocking Trump's war with Iran. We'll be back.
How's your shift going? It's been a lot.
Charge clear. We're going to take care of you.
This is what we do.
You introduce your buddy to DTF St. Louis. Whoa. He goes on the site and winds up dead.
I want to know more.
We always want to know more.
Had you ever discussed leaving your husband?
What's going on out here in the suburbs?
Why'd you kill your friend?
The Oscars have been a tentpole of American life.
People around the world know what the Oscars are.
Will Hollywood survive an era of streaming?
Hollywood and the Oscars, still golden, now streaming on the CNN app.
Dad, I don't need you to check on me.
I still love you.
I just want to help.
Hey, Rooster! Oh, hey there! The kids call you Rooster?
They think I'm like my character.
You're a best-selling author parents have actually heard of. Nice washboard. This is college. You can be the rooster if you want.
Crush it, Rooster! I want to crush it!
Yeah, yeah!
When you buy a house, you're buying the neighbors.
It looks like an Osama bin Laden compound in Pakistan.
There is 6 to 8 chickens, 10 to 15 chicken, 20 chicken.
Oh, can't poop on me.
Don't talk to my child that way.
You will not talk over me.
Back off.
Rooster!
My attorney will bury you.
Welcome back to a special edition of Out Front, the war with Iran. We are live in Tel Aviv tonight with breaking news, even as traffic in the Strait of Hormuz is close to a standstill. At least 6 ships have covertly passing through in recent days. We have learned that ships near the strait have begun actually broadcasting messages seemingly aimed to discourage Iran from striking them. Some of the messages that CNN has seen include China owner, all Chinese, and China owner and crew. Will Ripley is out front with a closer look at the role that China is playing in the war.
In China, this AI-generated video shows President Donald Trump trying to make Iran's supreme leader disappear. But instead, his son pops up, a not-so-subtle jab at the United States. Another viral video goes even further, this one shared by Iran's embassy in Beijing, untouched by China's army of online censors, implying President Trump started the war to distract from the Epstein files, showing a U.S. missile bombing a school. Then showing the destruction of American military bases, aircraft carriers, and the Israeli Prime Minister's compound. Across Chinese social media, the message is blunt. America started this war. Publicly, President Xi Jinping's government is striking a more diplomatic tone, calling for restraint. China's Foreign Minister Wang Yi says, "This is a war that should never have happened, and a war that benefits no one." China has long been Iran's economic lifeline, Beijing buying most of their oil exports despite years of U.S.-led sanctions. And now, U.S. officials say they're watching signs Beijing could soon provide more crucial financial support to Tehran. The war is shaking global energy markets, oil prices surging to 4-year highs, attacks threatening shipping routes in the Middle East. For China, the world's biggest energy importer, that's a serious risk. But strategically, Beijing may also see opportunity as the two superpowers compete on the world stage, with the CIA putting out these official recruitment videos, brazenly and openly luring Chinese officials to spy for the U.S. Analysts say a prolonged war could pull American attention and military resources back to the Middle East and away from Asia, allowing China to flex its military muscle around Taiwan, in the South China Sea, and disputed islands near Japan without U.S. interference. And tonight, all of this is unfolding just weeks before a planned meeting between Donald Trump and Xi Jinping, a summit in Beijing expected to focus on trade, technology, and the situation here in Taiwan. For China, the war shows the limit of its clout and ambitions in the Middle East, Aaron, but it also gives Beijing another chance to present itself as a force for peace and stability, in stark contrast to President Trump's America.
All right, Will Ripley, thank you very much in Taipei tonight. And thanks so much to all of you, as always, for joining us. We'll see you back tomorrow. AC360 starts now.